Hello friends, I'm Beth the Builder, and this week I'm going to build a growing table. Okay, so I have several projects in the works, but it is just too dang chilly out and rainy and windy, 40-mile-per-hour winds, and I don't want to be outside. So we are in my basement. So where I live, we have a fairly short growing period, especially for things that are sensitive like tomatoes and peppers and cucumbers, melons, etc. So a lot of that stuff you want to end up starting inside. So my mom always had a growing table, and that's how she started seeds and flowers inside every year. And this is the first year that we're doing it, and we have a grow tent actually, which is really cool, and I like it, but it's hard to like work inside there because it's a little contained tent, which is really great for like temperature and humidity and stuff like that, to like just contain all the heat and everything in this one little space. But once that's full, you want to have another option. Plus, it's nice to have a place to like have all this stuff. So, like I've said in another video that probably hasn't come out yet, I got a crap load of pallets recently. And some of them are a little janky, and the ones that are in really good shape, I'm saving for some really good projects. So, stay tuned. But these two are a little bit rough, and I think I'm going to chop them apart, and I'm going to build my own growing table. I have learned a couple things about working with pallets, and one of them is generally it's not worth the time to try and actually tear a pallet apart using like a hammer or a crowbar or whatever. It's generally not worth it. Some of the older ones are gonna have like a bajillion nails in them. It's gonna take you more time to pull this pallet apart, and there's no guarantee they're not gonna end up breaking every single board anyway. For these guys, because they're in pretty rough shape, I'm gonna use my circle saw and I'm gonna like chop these babies apart. And that is what I have found to be the most useful. So you can like spend all day trying to get a pallet apart and not break every single piece of it. And I mean, good luck. That's my hot tip about pallets. Okay, so I just checked my two pallets and they're both heat treated and kiln dried, which are how the wood has been treated. And pallet wood is great, and it's awesome that it's free, but you want to make sure that it's safe for you to use. I wasn't planning on sanding these or using them in anything that I would be worried about, even if they were chemically treated, but you do want to be aware of it because you definitely don't want to sand those. You don't want to lick them. You don't want to be like making a coffee table or a table that you would use for food or anything like that. You can find more information about how to make sure pallets are safe to use in my video where I build a compost bin, and I talked about the brands on pallets. The letters you really want to see are HT and KD, heat treated, kiln dried. That's a summary, but otherwise you can check out that video where I talk about it more in depth. But otherwise, safety first. Let's do it. Okay, I know that I said that hammering them apart, trying to get them apart, is generally not time efficient, but this one was so splintery, I figured I could just hammer it apart and it would probably come apart pretty easy. And it did. But this guy, I'm gonna use my saw. Okay, so this is gonna be my table. That's gonna go on my two funny pallet sides. It does look pretty rough. I've taken out all the nails of these pieces, but I pretty much didn't have to do anything to them because they're all the standard pallet length of about 40 inches. So all I did was take the nails out. So, and then we'll get everything kind of like structurally more sound. I have some braces that I'm gonna use, and we'll go from there. So I'm all done. I haven't moved into the space that I wanted in our basement. We have a spare bedroom in our basement that's all finished. And we've set up our grow tent in here. And now I've moved this table in here. So mostly I'm gonna use this for kind of overflow, growing seeds and plants and stuff. This is the first year we're starting seeds inside, so it's kind of a learn as you go and figure out what you need. And I really like the idea of a cool growing table that you can get dirty. It's not fancy, it's not like a looker. It doesn't look like a super nice table, but it is pretty dang sturdy. It's heavy, and I don't care if it gets dirty, if it gets dinged up. I roughly sanded it down just to get off any like splintery stuff. But, you know, for a simpler workbench with some shelving on it, I think it's pretty good. And again, I can't stress this enough, it cost me $0. What's better than that? So I did tweak a couple things along the way, because sometimes when something starts to come together, you realize that what you were thinking isn't maybe what you need or exactly how you want it to go. So I had been thinking, just because of what I was basing this off of, which is my mom's grow table, that I was gonna put a lip around it to just kind of contain dirt and stuff. But hers is only like that because there was a bunch of sand in it for a heating coil to go through, which was a specific type of heating thing to heat sand for growing a lot of seeds. And I don't need that. So I decided to like completely omit that, even though I had like chopped a couple of scrap pieces of wood for it. I stuck a second shelf down here. I'll show you. So I used the pieces that I was gonna use for my edges. I actually just trimmed them down and stuck them on the bottom as an extra shelf with some braces on them of, again, just scrap wood. And then I think I'll probably end up adding a second one. But for growing seeds, you could hang another light under here, and then you could have 2 shelves of seeds. I'm thinking in the future, if I wanted to have this light here permanently on the table and not have to put more holes in the walls or whatever, not that I care about that, but some people do. I thought about just putting some tall brackets on the side, like just a piece of wood that's, you know, 2 feet tall or something, and then putting some eye hooks in them, and then you could hang a fluorescent light like this just off of those arms that would come up off the sides for a light, which I think is a common thing that you'll see on like grow tables, plant type setup things. But yeah, when you do stuff like this, you can make it whatever you want. So you can put a lip on the front, you can put arms on the sides to hold a light, you can put as many shelves on it as you want, as your wood allows. You can make it bigger, you can make it smaller, you can make it to your height. If you're a shorter person, you should make things to your height, which might annoy other people who are average height. Or if you're a giant, like 6.5 foot man, like you should make things to your height. Like my workbench that I have in my workspace is honestly slightly too tall for me. If I saw on that thing, like I can't, like it's really awkward. So that bench was not built by me. It wasn't built for me. So it makes sense. So when you're building things, build them for you. So that sounds like a catchphrase. When you're building things, build them for you. But you should, okay? Don't make something a way that you don't care about or isn't the way you want it to be. Because like that's the fun thing about making stuff yourself, is that you can customize it to yourself and you don't have to pay someone extra for custom things. You can just do it yourself. I would say for some pallets that I got for free and some screws and wood glue, pretty dang useful. If you start seeds and sides, if you've done it for years, or if you have some tips and tricks of like how to make that really successful, let me know in the comments below. Otherwise, I'll have a new video next week, and thanks for watching.